Hi, good morning, folks. Chris Peterson here. I'm going to be moderating today's Public Safety Subcommittee meeting for Friday, September 17th. I welcome everybody this morning. And to start off, Chief Bolter, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, folks, and good morning to everyone again. Just a real quick, first, just on a personal note, I know that many of the folks on the call today were participants in last Saturday morning's 9/11 Remembrance event. It was something to attend and something that brought back quite a few memories for me personally. I chose not to speak because I thought that words were better presented by those who were more directly involved in the events or the safety, the involvement, and the protection and safety of our community. I appreciate that. It prompted me to go home and certainly have a conversation again with my wife, who we were together that day and had been in the past in those buildings for work and recently been in those buildings at that time for work, and then went down and volunteered ourselves in the weeks thereafter at Ground Zero, in the Ground Zero area, and then but really more caused us to have a conversation with our children, who seemingly, like many children out there, or many people out there, weren't alive at the time. But I appreciate for all the comments that were made by Chief and the fire department, the EMS, and the folks that the thoughts of that kind of a day come back daily for you. And the preparation for it comes back instinctively, I think. And for a person of myself who doesn't think of that day daily, for whichever reasons, good or bad, you take for granted for things, but it certainly caused me pause to come home and talk to my children about it, which if nothing else, I appreciate that, your efforts in putting that front of mind for us. So thank you for that. So with that being said, again, thank you. I know from the town, everybody who took time out of their day to be a part of that. We'll do the roll call pretty quick. I'm just going to bring it up here. Excuse me. Got three devices: computer, iPad, phone. Melissa Appleby, I believe you're on. Sean Askham, I know Sean is out today because you're suffering through listening to me. Chief Baldus, I believe you're here.
I'm here.
Okay. Mike Berry.
Here.
Yep. Good morning. Chief Bolter. Maria, did you jump on?
Good morning.
Good morning. Mark Kritz. Nope. Okay. Chief Davis, I saw you on.
I don't think he's with us this morning.
Okay, I'm sorry. Kristen Formanek.
Present. Good morning.
Jennifer Kutanis. Good morning. Is Jennifer here?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
She might have a conflict.
Mike Long. Mr. Long.
I think he said he wasn't going to be able to attend today.
Melissa Marquis. No, Melissa. Mark Massaro.
Morning.
Good morning. Sarah Nielsen.
Good morning. I'm here.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you. Good morning. Patrick Torville.
I'm here.
Tom Roy. Thank you, Patrick. Good morning, Tom. Nancy Sheets. Nancy. Karen Stewart.
I'm here. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Neil.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Neil. Jim Traficante. No Jim? No Jim. All right, Gary Wilcox, thank you.
I am here. Good morning.
Yeah, all right. So we'll kick it off. Thank you, folks. And back to...
You have a couple, Chris, a couple other individuals, I believe. We have Kevin Clemens on the line. And I saw one other individual from Eversource joining us.
Yep.
From
I can
town,
Yep, I can introduce her if you'd like.
Melissa, I'm being thrown as curveball. Do we have a presentation ahead of time, or is it just to speak during the Eversource?
Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's just for your normal update, right?
Yeah, it's just an introduction, so yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll just jump right into it. Thank you. Anybody have a challenge with the minutes of the June 17th meeting? Any comments on those? Nope. Okay, so we'll move to adopt those. All right, updates right into it. Farmington Valley Health District.
Chris, it looks like Melissa was not able to make it as well from the health district. So if you'd like, I could jump in with item 2, which was town manager's office.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone. So the State Department of Public Health released our weekly numbers yesterday afternoon in terms of our case numbers. We're currently at our orange status for the DPH Municipal Alert System. That is our 5th consecutive week of orange status, meaning that we have more than 10 cases per 100,000 residents, but less than 15. Just to put that in comparison to late spring, early summer, we had 11 consecutive weeks of the sort of gray clear status, which is the lowest level of alert on the municipal alert system, which meant that we had less than 5 cases in town per week. So again, that was 11 consecutive weeks in the late spring into summer. Currently, again, orange status, if you'll recall, that's the second to highest level. And just to reiterate, that's between 10 and 15 cases weekly. We are now sharing that data on social media weekly. We had previously been sharing it during these meetings, as well as Board of Selectmen meetings, as well as my town manager's report. But while our municipal executive order is in place regarding masks, we are now also sharing that data weekly through our town social media accounts, which are Facebook and Twitter. I did make 2, I think, relatively sensible modifications to that municipal executive order just about 10 days ago now. That was based on some constructive feedback that we had received from sectors of business in our community, as well as in consultation with the health district. One was to change the age required for a person to wear a mask from the age of 2 to the age of 3. And the second was to remove the word partition from the order when distancing from others. So those changes were made and have been uploaded to our website. And the Farmington Valley Health District has been consulting with other health districts in our capital region. And the health directors are actively working on a series of metrics for when they feel it would be appropriate to rescind those executive orders that are in place. About a third of the communities in our capital region have currently issued municipal executive orders regarding masks. In terms of vaccines, we have data as of September 4th. There will be some additional data being released later today by the state. But a little over 19,000 of our residents at this point in time have received at least the first dose of the vaccine. And over 18,000 are now fully vaccinated. Amongst our entire population, that would include people not yet eligible, such as children under the age of 12. That's just about 75% of our residents have initiated receiving the vaccine. And due to the uptick in cases, we are mostly holding our public meetings virtually again. So people can certainly follow along on SCTV or through their YouTube channel. We do have some of our smaller boards and agencies that are still meeting in person. And that concludes my report for today, Chris.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the emergency management presentation is broken up into a couple of components here, it looks. Who's going to kick that one off then? Who's going to... Do we have...
I can just lead off. So we thought it would be helpful just to provide an overview of what we experienced during our recent heavy rains, Storm Henri and Storm Ida. We did receive considerable rain. As folks know, we did have flooding in various parts of town during those various storm events. And perhaps it would be great if, maybe Tom and Kevin could lead off from a public works perspective. And then I would just ask our public safety folks and including Mike Berry just to chime in.
Great, thank you.
Thank you and good morning, everybody. I'm going to add one more storm to the list. We clearly had Henri and Ida, but the couple days before that, on that Thursday morning, we had the remnants of Tropical Storm Fred. And looking overall at the three storms, that storm in many ways had the biggest impact on our infrastructure. We had a lot of street flooding during that event, and in some cases, it led to, I think the chief could maybe speak to this, a considerable amount of basement flooding. And that one came at us a little bit, it certainly was more rain than was forecasted. We ended up with just over 3.6 inches of rain over a 4-hour period. And during 1 hour, we actually received over 2.5 inches of rainfall, which equates to about a 70-year storm event. And that's really what challenged some of our smaller drainage systems. During Henri, again, it was predicted. I think the team did a really great job of being prepared. Kevin could maybe speak to it on the highway department end. We had a few trees down, but we were very manageable. And similarly with the remnants of Ida, I think we were really spared some of the damage that we saw in other areas of the East Coast. So I don't know if Kevin, if you want to talk a little bit about how we handled the hurricane event.
Sure. As you said, we were ready for Ida. It was on a Sunday. Tom and I both were in here relatively early, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. It's easier for us to manage a storm when we're here at our base. We brought in half the crew at 11 o'clock, which basically was two 3-man crews and a crew leader to help orchestrate some of their activities while Tom and I bounced around, trying to prioritize. I have that we had 21 various events from different levels and all tree related and such, with 8 wire events. Again, various degrees, some of them just communication line where we're able to access. As a whole, everything really was fluent and went well. We ended up, it just kind of shut down at about, it rained and rained and rained, and then the wind came right in at the tail end, just as forecasted. And it got quiet quick, and we left probably around 6 or 7 o'clock that evening and didn't have any other real issues throughout the evening. And then the next storm, which I believe was Ida, was really a heavy rain event that again, I came in the middle of the night, and we had a couple of small trees down, but nothing real. But it was probably a hour-and-a-half window from 11 to 1 o'clock in the morning that the rain was coming down at a ridiculous rate. And it was interesting to see some of the infrastructure that failed during the previous storm, Fred, on that Thursday morning, how the drainage handled it, and we actually fared well. I know, again, and listening to the scanner and watching the crews, that the fire department had several basement floodings and such. And I did say this to the Chief Baldus, that I was really impressed on how fast his crew got into position to manage that. It was really a testament to their dedication. So hats off.
You guys want to just park off?
That's about what I have.
In that field across the street from here.
I guess I'll chime in on the aspect of the fire department's response. As Tom indicated, the Fred storm, which was the real heavy rain that we had, that overwhelmed a lot of the typical drainage, was a little different than what we've seen in the past, where we had inundation into homes from the outside, because the drainage systems, in some cases, property drainage systems as well as street drainage, just wasn't able to handle the capacity of the water that was coming down. So in a couple of cases, we actually pumped water outside to get the water away from homes that was starting to infiltrate into the homes themselves. And thanks, Kevin, for your kind words. But I have to say that the volunteers stepped up to the plate. We were very well prepared with extra pumps. We had everything pre-staged on various pieces of equipment so we can get the response as quickly as possible. And it's certainly our volunteers that really make a big difference in handling a lot of those calls. We did have to pump out Plan B. Their cellar got flooded again because of overwhelming water cascading down Station Street, and basically went right into their basement lower level there with about 3.5 to almost 4 feet of water in that basement. So we were able to take care of that. The other storms, I think, as was well mentioned, we lucked out pretty well. We certainly did have increase in calls for situations such as some pump systems that failed because of excessive running times, things of that nature, but fortunately nothing in regards to overwhelming water infiltration like we did with the storm Fred. With the river flooding that we did experience that closed 315 for a while and Riverside Road, we only had to pump one home at number 100 Riverside Road that had its basement flooded. The others were fine, which is great news for us. But overall, in the month of August, we actually did experience about a 40% increase in call volume, most of it related to weather, whether it be power lines down, trees that took power lines down, and as well as cellar pump outs that we did have. And I guess the one comment I would have to say is that and Eversource did a great job in their response. I think in many ways surprised us how quickly they were able to respond, but I think that it underscores their preparedness for these storms. But also I do think we still need to do some work on the telecommunications side when we do have issues of roads or areas that are either blocked or semi-blocked. The response time and the communication gap that seems to still be there with telecommunication, be it through Frontier or also through Comcast. So it's just something we need to focus on going forward.
Thanks, Chief. Anything from the police or ambulance relative to the storms?
Yeah, Chris, I wouldn't mind commenting. I think in general, there were no flooding or road closures that impacted the roadways beyond the expectations based on the history that we've had in town and based on the storm predictions. So I think we're lucky in that sense. We've had 315 closed before, we've had Riverside closed before, and so I think it was all managed very well. We had some additional officers on for some of the storms, so I think that helped us with our responses. But I just wanted to comment, and it seems to be a regular comment from everybody, but just the town services all worked so well together again, and just complementing each other's tasks and responsibilities. It just everything got done again.
Thank you, Chief. Tom and Kevin, each storm brings it's their own nuances, and you have to have the perfect convergence, I think, to probably either accelerate an experience. But anything out of the ordinary relative to, and not certainly not downplaying in some individual residents who may have had some challenges, but from a town infrastructure standpoint, mechanicals, buildings, whichever it may be, the water treatment plant, anything that you saw that was something that was new from an exposure standpoint because of the convergence of situations, and had they been a little bit worse, something that would have popped up and caused concern that we should think about in the future, or was everything affected and behaved as expected as it relates to past storms?
I guess I'll start with that, Chris. I'd say you kind of hit the nail on the head. Nothing ever goes exactly as expected, but it's all within the realm of what we've all trained for. For that Thursday morning storm, the Fred event, we were close to having a really difficult event over on East Weetog Street, where Lucy Brook, because of the weather patterns we've had lately, had a lot of downed trees and debris in it, which got caught up against a small bridge which had been constructed just upstream of our culvert that carries Lucy Brook underneath East Weetach Street. It caused water to come over the road. The new parking lot the land trust is building was washed out, but there was certainly a concern that if that small wooden hiking bridge had let loose, all of that debris would have come into the culvert. So we were not that far off from potentially having a washout that would have been a considerable loss to the town. So going forward, I think it just comes down to making sure that as part of our roles, we continually look for these potential obstructions. And in some ways, this is something that Mike Glidden in planning does, where when somebody wants to put a small bridge across a water course, so easy to say, it's just a small wooden bridge. It's not going to have an impact. We have to certainly plan for these larger events when we're doing those.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mike, Karen, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank all the services and everyone here for everything. Again, you make my job really, really easy. Fred kind of caught us off guard with that heavy rain that you guys talked about, but Henri and Ida, we had time to discuss the incidents ahead of time. The Unified Command met. There was consensus across the board, so it was just making sure that all the lines of communication were open. Eversource was fantastic with their communication ahead of time, letting us know what was happening, what they were preparing for. So when these storms did hit, luckily Henri acted like a drunken sailor, driving around Long Island before it fizzled out and got to us. But Ida really had a lot more impact than we expected it was going to. But the services were there. Everything went very smoothly. We watched the river rise. You guys know exactly what areas to watch for, what areas to shut down when necessary. We kept watching the river gauge and was hoping that it would not rise above the moderate into the major flooding stage. Notifications from the town and the emergency services to the townspeople was fantastic. Let them know what roads to avoid as they were going. We did have some problems with people driving around barricades, but there's really nothing we can do about that other than continue our message to make sure that they try not to do that. But again, everything on my end went very smoothly. It went according to what we've done in the past when we've had similar events. And most people here have had much experience with it, which I relied upon. And just again, I'd like to thank everybody because it went very smoothly.
So I'll put my 2 cents in. So if I'm a New Orleans girl, what the heck? I left New Orleans to avoid hurricanes, but here I am. I want to thank all the services for letting us know what roads were going to be an issue and for impasse areas for the ambulance and clarifying where we could and could not go. And that, I think it worked out really, really well. And I think we did great. So thank you, everybody.
All right, appreciate it. Maria, any last thoughts there?
Yeah, definitely. Again, I would just like to reiterate and echo, I think that the entire public safety and services team just worked incredibly well together during these storms. We got hit really hard just, in a short period of time with really 3 storm events. But a bit of a public service announcement, I just really want to impress upon the public when we have those significant rain events and the river is, experiencing flooding and it's at a very high level. It's moving at a very quick pace. Unfortunately, we had to keep chasing folks out of the river who thought it was a good time to go swimming. It was a very dangerous, time for people to be swimming. And it reached a point where we actually had to put up barricades at Hopbrook Landing at the Flower Bridge and no swimming signs to really impress upon how unsafe the conditions were. So just really want to remind folks that the river, yes, while it is a very beautiful, lovely resource for us during those storm events, that is not a good time to take to swimming.
Certainly, thank you.
Thanks.
There is a bullet here to just to do a little debrief on the concert of the 28th. We'll kick that off, Maria.
Yes, thank you so much, Chris. So as you may recall, the Performing Arts Center had scheduled Darius Rucker to come here for last summer. That was 2020. And unfortunately, due to COVID circumstances at the time, which included state restrictions on gathering sizes, they were not able to hold that event. As I mentioned earlier in my remarks, things were in a very good position in terms of cases very early on in the summer. And the Performing Arts Center had rescheduled that event. There was an event promoter, which was a charity arm of Trantolo that does charity concerts. And that had been rescheduled for August 28th of just this past August. We did our best with the evolving COVID situation. We were routinely and regularly consulting with the Farmington Valley Health District on what best practices we could advise and use as strategies at that large outdoor event. And I really want to thank the health district because I think that working in concert with the Performing Arts Center, they put together a very good series of recommendations. We did our best to communicate those safety protocols through social media and other channels. And in terms of public safety, again, I just think that our public safety team did an excellent job pre-planning as well as at the event, and it was really without incident. But I would certainly defer to our public safety folks to chime in a bit on that aspect.
Chief?
So from our standpoint, I'm still waiting on the final after action report, but in general, it did go very well. For that size of a crowd, there were very few problems that were identified, during that 5 or so hour of the concert. So for the most part, it went well. There was as Maria had indicated, there was some significant planning that went into this, that months and months of planning that involved a lot of people, a lot of aspects of the town. But I think for the most part, it went well.
Great. Thank you.
I chime in too. We still really do need, as the chief just mentioned, an after action report to be done. We haven't met together as a group yet, but that's going to be really important on this event. It did go without event, which is great due to the great planning and everything else we had put in place. Moving forward, I had talked to Maria a little bit about the ability to have a life safety evaluation done. We're going to try to see if there's some funding or something in the future maybe for that. But that'll help that venue greatly along with all our services to make that a little bit smoother for both the venue itself along with us as the responders.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment relative to the event?
Chris, just one other item similar to what Patrick was sharing. In addition to sort of wrapping up the after action, we are also working on some general improvements to our larger sort of public gathering permit process. I think that this was a really good learning experience for us. It's the first large scale event we've had in quite some time. And we've had so many staffing transitions in part due to retirements that for some of us, this was our first time going through such a large scale event in our current capacity. And so we also have a list of items that we're going to be working on, which include things like that life safety analysis that Patrick spoke of, that I think would be very important to the overall just sort of public gathering process. So we have a number of projects we'll be working on.
Great, thank you. To my own perspective, just thank you again. I attended, I had a fantastic time, a really good time. And I felt safe. And I think that we're blessed to have so many people who participated on the volunteer level, which is something I always talk about. And it will be interesting to see if we ever do host something of that scale again. I'm not quite sure, but I think the good thing is that we've gone big. We did its event for by and large event free, and you folks took a whole bunch of learnings from it. So more than likely, the events that go forward there will be on a smaller scale, which then likely lends to even a better understanding and management of them going forward. So appreciate everybody's participation in that. And again, for those folks who volunteered and gave up their time versus being selfish like myself and just have a good time. So I think we'll move on. Chief Bolter, just a general update from police.
Yes, just a general update. Since our last meeting, the department has filled the only remaining vacancy with an officer who is already certified, Kyle Colby. He is currently in our field training program, and we expect to see him out in a solo capacity within the next 4 to 6 weeks. We're looking forward to that. Still have 2 in the academy that we introduced at the last meeting. Also, since our last meeting, there have been 2 promotions. Brad Chase, who was a sergeant, was promoted to lieutenant, and Justin Johnson, as an officer, was promoted to sergeant. Just sort of in the, I guess the police hot topics in the region, again, motor vehicle thefts and entries into cars. I'm knocking on some wood here, but I'll give you some numbers, which I don't really like to do, but I don't want to jinx us, but we've had 9 stolen cars this calendar year to date. And the same time last year, we had 27. So hoping that the push, the reminder to keep cars locked, keep items not visible in cars, keep the keys and the key fobs away from cars is working, as well as other sort of systemic things that we're doing throughout the region. Directly related to that, motor vehicle burglaries or entries into cars. So again, some numbers: 2020, January to date, 138, and 2021, we have 34. So significantly less reported entries into cars this year than last year. So we're hoping that that trend continues. We are working with the regions. We have been working with them for many years on this, and it's obviously increased the amount of our communication back and forth and attempts at different things to reduce this activity. And that's all I have for you today.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Chief. Ambulance, Karen?
Good morning, everybody. So I'll start off with a COVID update from our facility. We are thankfully healthy. All our staff and volunteers have not had any issues, and we've only had a handful of positive COVID patients in terms of transports over the past few months, which relates to what the town has seen in terms of numbers. The one thing I would like to let the Public Safety Committee know about is what's happening in our EMS area and in the state. There is currently a significant shortage of paramedics and EMTs in the state of Connecticut. And this shortage is significantly impacting all ambulance services, not just us. So we had a meeting last night with the chief of services, and they're saying that we notoriously go through this kind of cycle where there's a shortage and then people go to class and they learn to become a paramedic or an EMT, and it cycles back up. But because of COVID, this has obviously impacted us a little differently for the past few years. So that could be a problem in the long run, but we are trying to address that at this point. So I was told in the meeting last night that for the month of August in our area, our general Hartford vicinity, which includes the Darlington Valley, Hartford, Newington, Southington, Plainville, that there were almost 2,100 to 2,500 911 calls per day. Unfortunately, I don't have a comparison data, but the consensus was that was a significant increase. So what we're seeing is that we've been called to our mutual aid towns more frequently, which unfortunately impacts the town of Simsbury directly. So in light of that, we've been staffing our second ambulance for a minimum of 12 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And we will continue to do so with a goal to be 7 days a week. But we also have to analyze the sustainability of that in terms of insurance reimbursement and payroll, et cetera, et cetera. But I just want to assure the Public Safety Committee that we are looking at this, we're on top of all this, and we're trying to address the best course of action to make sure that our town, because that is my priority, is to cover Simsbury, even though we're asked to go elsewhere, to make sure that we are covered in what we need to have done. So I've not relaxed in my efforts to hire people. We're still looking for more EMTs and paramedics. I will not let sit back and just say we're good for now, because it's always a competitive market for hiring employees for any business, and especially with EMS. And that's what we're trying to do at this point. So it's just a very interesting time to be in, unfortunately, because I think COVID has really affected EMS more than people realize. People just do not want to be in this business with the risk of getting this illness. And it's affected the people that want to actually work and do this job, which is unfortunate. So, but we're doing our best and we're here and we're looking out for Simsbury and we'll keep you posted. Any questions about that?
Oh, thank you, Karen. Appreciate it. Chief Baldus, Fire Department.
Yep, good morning, everyone. As was already talked about a little bit earlier, it's been kind of a busy summer for us with a lot of weather-related calls. Fortunately, on the fire side of things have been fairly quiet and fairly safe. We appreciate the public's efforts in trying to keep fire safe, and that certainly pays off as well. As was also mentioned, we did play a role in the Darius Rucker concert in terms of providing command staff as well as fireworks standby, and that all went off without a hitch. Again, looking forward to that after action meeting, which will then tie things up. We are well prepared for the upcoming fly-in, which is going to be happening in a couple weeks. We do expect it to be as successful as we've seen in the past, with a tremendous amount of traffic activity as well as pedestrian activity around the airport area. There's been numerous meetings that have been held with the organizers of the event, police, as well as the police from the various towns, East Granby, and Simsbury. And that's all been kind of working well together in getting that ready. We will again be providing command staff as well as fire support for that event. Just to make the public aware, in case they see a ladder truck running around town that bears the name of Connecticut Fire Academy. We are, as many people may remember, we have a new ladder truck that's actually overdue for delivery that was expected this past spring. Because of COVID and other related production events, it's been delayed. We are expecting that delivery sometime later this fall. In the meantime, our tower ladder was scheduled to have some remediation work done for some corrosion to continue to extend its life and its ability to respond. We had a window of opportunity to get that done, so we took advantage of an opportunity with the state of Connecticut and the Connecticut Fire Academy, which we have a tremendous relationship with right here in Windsor Locks, where they took delivery of a new aerial apparatus, and their other apparatus, which was still very functional and usable, was made available to us to use. So we are in fact using that for the next approximately 6 to 8 weeks or so, while our tower ladder is getting corrosion work done. This in no way compromises our ability to respond and provide aerial or ladder support to the town. We would not do that. We would have postponed that tower ladder corrosion work if in fact we were not able to make this arrangement. But it may just raise a few eyebrows as to why someone's, why we have an aerial ladder truck, driving up to somebody's home that says Connecticut Fire Academy on it. But that's the reason why. And everything has worked out very well. We also had that ladder truck there displaying our new giant American flag at the 9/11 ceremony. And again, I want to extend my thanks to all that were involved, participations as well as attendees for a very, very well attended and also very solemn event. Thank you very much on that. And that's my report. Patrick, I think it's up to you.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. It's first off, Fire Prevention Week will be coming up here in October. This year's theme is Learn the Sounds of Fire Safety. It's basically works to educate everyone about the different sounds smoke alarm and carbon monoxides make, and knowing what to do when the alarm sounds. This not only incorporates getting out when you hear the smoke alarm, but those annoying chirps in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning, or other things that the alarm will make. And knowing those differences of the sounds will help us reduce false alarms and also increase the knowledge of the public on what is actually happening with their smoke alarms. So hopefully that'll also take care of, I reported last month, our nuisance alarm problem. Hopefully this year's theme will tie into that and continue to do that. We'll also be doing an open house as we do traditionally during Fire Prevention Week, which is October 3rd through the 9th. Along with that, we'll also be visiting our schools. We had to take a little hiatus last year. We did a drive-by instead of actually having educational sessions at the schools. But this year, October 1st, we'll be actually going to the schools again and passing the fire safety message on. There'll also be other ongoing educational opportunities with daycares and civic groups throughout the community as we do throughout the year. Also, we have construction. Everyone may have noticed that the bowling alley we once had in town is almost no longer there. It's being demolished for making a new way for a new business, Tractor Supply. So that's underway. So that building that was kind of vacant is now gone, and you'll see a lot of activity up there in the months to come. Also, I just wanted to make mention, Dino Nobel has reached out to the fire department, police department, to be included in their incident command training and review. And that'll be held in October as well. So that's great for them, keeping involved with the National Incident Management System and the incident command systems and all of our agencies working together. So hopefully that'll be good. They do that quite frequently with us, and it's always paid off. And that's all I have for my report.
Thank you, Patrick. Excuse me. The Chief Ball, just real quick, there's an incoming apparatus that is delayed. There's the apparatus that it's replacing is still there. When the triangle is complete and the shuffle is complete, what's happening to that outgoing apparatus?
The apparatus actually that has been it's replacing was our ladder 11, which was out of Bushy Hill. We actually suffered a catastrophic engine failure of that ladder recently. That ladder is no longer in service and is actually no longer even part of the fire district's assets. We've since actually sold it to somebody who wants to try to restore it as an antique. It went off to a private owner. The value of the truck versus the expense to try to replace the engine for that piece of apparatus because of its age, since it was already designated to be replaced with the new aerial, we decided it was just not in the best interest of the fire district or the taxpayers in Simsbury to put that kind of investment back into a truck that we were really going to get rid of anyway. The resale value on it wouldn't have allowed us to recoup the expense that we would have had to have paid to have that truck fixed and back in service. So we're fine with the aerial ladder that we do have. Like I said, now we're running that aerial as normal. The new truck that's coming in is actually a combination aerial and engine. So it actually provides us a little bit more flexibility in regards to what it is capable to do. And that will actually be moved from the Bushy Hill station to Weetog, because that's where certainly most of our new apartment and townhouse construction has occurred.
Understood. Thank you. Certainly spent a little bit of time myself on 11, so memories there. Great, thank you. Neil, Board of Education.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Obviously, since the last time our group got together, school has reopened with all students in-person attendance, which is a good feeling. And with a year of COVID protocols under our belt, it was a pretty smooth opening, with obviously dealing with a little greater density within the schools, given that all students are with us now, and just making some adjustments to areas such as our cafeterias and hallways and more public areas to make sure that we are doing the best we can to distance people and keep them safe. So we have had a handful of cases in the few weeks we have been in school, and have followed the typical contact tracing and quarantine procedures. I will say that with some modifications to the rules around quarantining, we have lessened the amount of quarantines that have happened compared to last year, and therefore a shorter duration because people can take a test after a certain period of time and sort of test out of the quarantine in a way that they weren't allowed to last year. So it's still going to happen. We expect there to be cases from time to time, but I think we're handling them the best we can. And the fact that what we're experiencing at the middle and the high school is that in Simsbury, a high percentage of the 12 to 18-year-olds are vaccinated. So that does limit the number that need to be quarantined. So that's been helpful because we maintain the goal of keeping as many kids in school for as many days as we can. And that's been going well so far. The other thing that has been the most work lately in the last few weeks is obviously administering the governor's vaccine mandate for pre-K through 12 educators. And by educators, that term is writ large, if you will, because it doesn't just mean teachers, it means everybody who works in the school, from cafeteria workers and bus drivers and substitute teachers and coaches. So all told, it's over 1,000 people that we need to be tracking. Out of that, I can tell you that it's between 3 and 4% that in some way are not vaccinated, either choosing not to be vaccinated or seeking a religious or medical exemption to the vaccine. And we are working with our attorneys and other partners around the State Department of Ed to administer that program that goes into effect. The September 27th is the date by which we have to have everybody's information, or they are subjected to weekly testing that needs to happen. So it's a manageable percentage of employees for us, but it's still going to be a weekly task that has to be administered. So that's pretty much the COVID update. And I will add that over the summer, out of our 7 schools, we added the 5th school, Tooten Hills, to get the revamped entryway with the double lock system, creating sort of a man lock as you enter the school. So we have plugged away sort of 1 school per summer on that project, and we were happy to complete Tooten Hills on time in order to open school. And we'll be continuing with that project over the next couple of summers to round out all 7 schools. Happy to take any questions that anybody has.
Thank you, Neil. As a parent of 4 children, all vaccinated as well from 12 to 14, it's surprising how they've come in contact pretty quickly with positives to the left and right of them, and seemingly been able to be processed, so to speak, and continued with their learning on uninhibited. So good job to you guys, and appreciate all the other parents who've answered the call to have their children vaccinated. And thanks to you, Neil, and the rest of the team and Matt, just to get things rolling this year. Gosh, I need my kids back in school. Thank you. So Kristen Formanek, Social Services.
Good morning. Those were a lot of very wonderful reports, and I don't have too much to offer following up to all the wonderful news we had this morning, but to share with you that Hall continues to remain open to the public, and we have been very excited to see our patrons coming back to the building. We are providing all of our services in person. We do have some of our senior center programming that's going to be continuing to be virtual. Our exercise programs are going to remain virtual at least through November. And we do continue to provide our weekly Wednesday lunch to our seniors in the drive-through method. We are right now winding down in social services. We're finishing up the renter's rebate application process. So if anyone out there has not yet completed their renter's rebate application, please get in touch with us so that we can help you with that and make sure that you get your funding. And starting the first Monday in October, we will begin our energy assistance process. So if you need assistance with your home heating for the winter, please make sure to get in touch with us so that we can get your application done and processed and get you that help. And starting next month, we're going to be beginning our holiday program, our holiday assistance program, and we're going to be looking both for participants who are looking for some help this holiday season and for our generous donors to return to help us make that holiday season bright and fun for all of our youth in town. So we are doing well, staff is healthy, and we are glad that our public is back in our building. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you. Tom Roy, Public Works. I skipped over you purposely. Just it's like a test, see, attentiveness. That's all.
That's all right. Kristen had been waiting a long time.
Thank you, Chris.
I'm going to keep with our theme real quick of tropical storms. And actually, we've just finished up our process for the FEMA reimbursement associated with Isaiah. Okay, so going way back. The process does always take a long time. I'll be honest, the FEMA process has become much better than it was a few years ago. We had $144,000 worth of eligible expenses. That includes our overtime, our vehicles and equipment that were used for both the emergency protective measures, so the work that was going on as the storm was hitting in the 48 hours afterwards, as well as the debris removal. Part of the reason that number is so high is for the first time, FEMA actually paid our straight time costs for our debris removal. In the past, they would only pay our staff for overtime, even though for 8 hours they were clearing brush and debris off of the roadway. So that was a big plus for us. We get paid 75% on that value. So we're looking to receive just north of $100,000 for that storm. At this point, we received our first payment of $9,400, and we're waiting for our next payment, which we anticipate within the next month. So very successful with that process. And following up on that, we did submit our preliminary damage assessment for Henri. I think it's a pretty long shot that this is going to qualify to be a FEMA level event for reimbursement, but we're putting our chit in just in case it does come that way, and we'll certainly make sure the town gets what it deserves. Switching gears, over in the south end of town, we've been working with the police department, fire department, and Salters on doing a traffic calming study. We're trying a number of different measures out there. Chief Baldus and I got to see that ladder truck go through and make sure it could navigate the thing it needs to navigate. There's been a lot of comments about that, both positive and negative. It's important to keep in mind, this is just a study. We're trying to see if we have a solution that works, what doesn't work, and it's a test to see what we can do to hopefully make that neighborhood safer. And if the techniques work, we can apply them to other neighborhoods in the future. But that would end my report. Not sure if anybody has any questions for either me or Kevin today.
No, thanks, Tom. Just start the preliminary study for traffic circles at the intersection of Bushy Hill and West Street to figure out the challenges of the high school going forward.
I don't think that's going to help, Chris, but
yeah, I sense that that we're going both schools, junior high and high school, for those folks who don't have that experience. The drop off was trending on the upwards over the last couple of years. I think it's exacerbated by COVID, and it probably won't drop off. That drop off won't drop off. I think we're going to be at an adjusted higher rate of parents bringing their kids to school now, just because there's an expectation seemingly coming out of COVID. So I think that's going to be an ongoing traffic challenge for years and years to come. So I don't believe from VNA, I don't believe anybody jumped on. So unless they have, we can just jump to Main Street Partnership. Sarah.
Good morning. So I'm very excited to report that the Farmington Valley Health District recently received an equity grant. This grant is to get the Farmington Valley diverse populations their COVID-19 shots, and the focus is on restaurants and food health services. And in Simsbury, we're actually the only partner, the Simsbury Mainstream Partnership. We're the only organization that they're partnering with in the Valley. So we have been reaching out to all of our restaurants and food service operators to see if we can get their staff, their unvaccinated staff, vaccinated on site at no cost. We go right to the restaurants. I'm happy to report that a lot of our restaurants have fully vaccinated staff. So we're working on those that don't, and that's going very well. The second thing I want to report is that the DEEP will be doing some emergency work near the Benny's parking lot. They're working with town officials, but that should be coming up soon. Mike Glidden and I met with the owners of both Benny's and the new Signature wines to just go over what we know so far, but that would include issues with their parking lot and also potentially some delays to one of the lanes as that work gets going. We're not quite sure when it's coming up, but it should be coming up fairly quickly. They've sought an emergency permit to do that work. We talked a little bit about the concert, and I had submitted my report to the Board of Selectmen on ways that we could work to improve safety and also working with the businesses. But something that it bears mention for this group is that one of the issues that we had come up everywhere is the lack of communication. So the lack of cell phone service in the downtown. There's also lack of cell phone service in the north, if you go towards Holcomb Street, and several other places. And that is a huge public safety issue. And so I would hope that maybe at some point later in the future, this committee could take that up. But, you talked about the storms, you've talked about all of these other things. And if you add in that we have residents who have spotty cell phone service that cannot reach 911 or, whatever they need to be, I just feel that that is such an important thing that we really need to address. And it solely is public safety. So, that did come up because we had lots of out-of-town visitors that came to the concerts. And then, once they parked, they didn't know where they were going. So they tried to load the maps and they tried to find, and they were unable to do so because they didn't have the internet connection. So that's, just one of the final things. And then also, unfortunately, I've been hearing from a lot of my businesses that there was a rumor that was widely circulated saying that the mask mandate from the town of Simsbury ended on Wednesday night. I want to reiterate that it did not end. And so I just want to make sure that the public knows that any changes to the mask mandate will come from the town of Simsbury. I will put it out, the Simsbury Main Street Partnership would put it out to our businesses so that please don't listen to people coming in and saying, one thing or another. Because it causes a lot of confusion and it's caused a lot of issues in the last couple of days. Final thing is Main Street is still handing out free masks to our businesses for them and their staff. We've handed out over 30,000 masks for free since this started. And so we still have them and are handing them out to businesses. Please contact me or contact the town and I can get them should the business require them. That's it, Chris.
Chris, this is Kristen. If I could just add as a follow-up to what Sarah just shared, and thank you, Sarah, the Simsbury Senior Center and Social Services still has cloth fabric masks available. So if there's anyone from the public that needs those, we can provide those to you as well. So Sarah, thank you for taking care of the businesses. And if you are a private person and you need a mask, please let us know.
Thanks, Kristen. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. I know folks are up against the 9 o'clock. For those who got to jump, go ahead. But Eversource, you're last up, and I know you've got a new associate you want to introduce the conversation. So please.
Thanks, Chris. Just wanted to introduce our new manager for community relations in the Central Region, which Simsbury is a part of. Melissa Hancock has joined us this morning. So I just want to give her opportunity to say hello to everybody. And we'll be doing trying to schedule an in-person meeting with a few of you in the near future.
Yeah, thanks. Good morning. Good to see everyone. I know we're right up against that 9, so I'll keep it short. Very nice to see everyone this morning. Along with being the new manager, I am also during storms. I know we talked about storms a lot today, this morning. I am one of the liaison officers in Connecticut, so really looking forward to hitting the road and getting to know each and every one of you and meeting in the near future. So thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. And just really quickly, I know we have kind of limited time, but I just wanted to, mention that we were happy to be one of the sponsors of the Multicultural Festival in town. And also quickly, I've sent out some notifications to let folks know, but all of the moratorium on residential collections of bills and so forth has expired. Was in place for basically 19 months. So those notices, you may hear from residents that they're getting notices from Eversource. If they have a hardship, a financial hardship, to please call us right away. Set up payment arrangements. We are extending long-term arrangements once again. So please have them reach out to the number that comes on the notice, or check us out on our website. Obviously, we don't want to be disconnecting services, but in the long run, all of those unpaid bills fall back to the rest of the ratepayers. So, obviously we have many different programs that help offset forgiveness programs, energy efficiency programs that can help reduce their costs going forward as well. So just want to make sure that people are aware of those. If there's any questions, our customer service center is ready to help in any way possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. You're welcome. All right, Maria, anything before we adjourn, anything for the good of the group? Any other questions or comments that have come up?
I do not have anything.
Okay. And do we have a date yet? Or is it it's going to be a staggered one again?
Yes, we have one in December. Sorry, I'm just going to pull that up quickly here. I believe it is December 16th at 8 a.m. I'm sorry. I believe it's 8 a.m. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, folks, for participating this morning. And I wish you all a great rest of your day and the weekend. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.